All right, let's talk about the U.S. Olympic selection process. I've been waiting to do this video for a long time. Obviously, I waited for certain reasons. If you're nervous by what I'm about to say, don't be. This is going to be great. I'm so excited, and I think we can move forward together. Before I get into that, let's have a little bit of whiskey. Now, when you start getting whiskey sent to you like this, something's going on. I can't tell you what it is, but I'm so excited for what has been developing over the past bit of time. I can't tell you how it tastes because it is not something that's on the market, but there's some fun stuff coming. Okay, so before we talk about the selection procedure that I think with some changes, let's talk about how it is happening now, or this cycle, how it happened for the Games 2024 in Paris. So at the end of 2023, on December, the U.S. selected 4 riders off of the rider ranking list, the FEI rider ranking list. Riders. So they get all their points from all their horses. Then on April 5th, they selected the top 3 horses off of the horse list that weren't already part of those 4 riders' stables, giving you 7 to the short list. Then the remaining 3 that make up the 10 that make the short list are discretionary choices from Chef to Keep and the selectors. That is how it is done now. And then you go to shortlist, where you jump a couple of Nations Cups, and based off of your results in those Nations Cups and your results in the past and your experience in the past, then you get selected by the Chef to Keep team coach and the selectors to be on the games. When you get to shortlist, to be from shortlist to the Olympic team, there are no listed, there's nothing listed in the rules that is objective. It is all, or if it is, that the objectivity is followed by a caveat that it doesn't have to be taken into account, or it's at the discretion of the selectors, basically undoing anything that is objective. So, quick rundown, that's how it's happening now. I don't believe now, I've never believed in the past, I never will believe in the future, that we should do our selection procedures purely objectively. I know there's a group of people that say we should do an American Championship style like we did back in the day, and the top 4 finishers make the team. No. And if you feel that way, you're wrong. Subjectivity does matter. But what is the point of subjectivity? It works alongside objectivity, but the reason for subjectivity is to take into account other things than just pure results that are, current in the ring. So why would you do that? Well, because they might be elements that, say, a person has been in the Olympics before, experience. Maybe there was some extraneous circumstance that made sense why they had lower results. But at the end of the day, the reason for subjectivity, taking into account other things than just your raw results, is to put someone with less good objective results ahead of someone with better objective results. Again, that is an important thing to do, and I believe we should not do things purely objectively. But let's not kid ourselves. The reason for subjectivity is to offset so that people who are less objectively good at the moment are placed higher than people who are more objectively good at the moment. That's it. Okay, so let's get back to the selection procedure. As I said before, first 4 riders come off the rider list. That is stupid. Because last time I checked, when you show for the team at the Olympics, you only can ride one horse. So why should your points with other horses that aren't the horse that you're being selected on count? That favors people with more horses, more owners, more all of that. It should only come off the horse list that will level the playing field more for people that say only have one horse. Those people deserve a fair crack. And if you need higher overall rider points, well, a person with only one horse can only show that one horse so often. So it will push them to show them more. Where if you just go off of the rider list, the horse list, then that equalizes things because you're just looking at the highest ranked horses because the horse only goes with one rider. So the first four, what I would change is at the end, the year before, instead of going the first four riders of the short list coming from the rider list, I would do the first four coming off of the horse list. Then, come April 5th, keep that date, who cares? I would pick the next four off of the horse list again. Except this time I would use a different time scale, a little bit more immediate, so a shorter time scale. That would allow your first batch of riders or horses to be picked on a longer time scale, so more established, longer competing. And the second batch to come, finding people who are hotter at the moment. Because if you're hot at the moment, you can be really great. And if there's no avenue for you to get on the team that way, that's a problem. And then the final two positions, wild cards. So everyone's selected off of the horse list because you can only ride one horse in the games. Once you get to the short list riding, we should all know what objective measures the chef to keep and the selectors are using. We don't. I know that because we asked, and upon asking, the response was, that is proprietary and you are not allowed to know it, and why are you even asking for it? That is just so wrong. We should know how we're being objectively measured. That might not matter that much for someone who's already at the top of the mountain and has gone to multiple games, but if you're trying to climb that mountain, the view from the top looks different than the view from the bottom. And the people with new owners or people with less long careers, knowing how you're being objectively measured is critical. If you've been to 3-4 games, less critical. So we need to know that because it would help give us better selection procedures. As we spoke before, there's a role for objectivity and there's a role for subjectivity, and they're a bit different. I would say that subjectivity should only be able to make you so many percentage points better. Like say if you're 30 percentage points lower in objectivity than another rider, then subjectivity shouldn't be able to put you ahead. The problem with that model, as you're probably feeling right now, is that's kind of complicated, requires some weird math, and it would be really hard to get everyone to agree on those mathematical processes and agree on what percent subjectivity should help or not. That is too hard. I agree it should happen and we should work on it, but it's too hard. There's some stuff that's simpler that we should do before. And so what I think we should do instead at the moment is in shortlist play, there is no objective requirements. You can be selected no matter how you compete once you're on the short list. You can actually, there are line items for you in extreme circumstances, people not on the short list can be selected. I feel like instead of having performance maximal requirements, I believe the best way we can go forward is performance minimums, set a floor. For example, if you are on the short list and you are wanting to go to the Olympic Games or World Equestrian Games, you should have to have competed in a Nations Cup, a 5-star Nations Cup, with the horse you intend to go to the games on or want to. If you have not competed on a Nations Cup, one, with that horse, you should not be allowed to be chosen above an athlete who has. Even if your Grand Prix results are better, I don't care. You need to have Nations Cup experience. I know that sounds basic. And I know some of you who pay attention might say, well, that's hypocritical of you. I am the example why. I got selected for the Pan American Games last year on a horse I'd never jumped a Nations Cup on. That went poorly. There's a lot of reasons why. I've talked about them in the past. We should not, in the U.S., select people to a major championship that have not competed in a Nations Cup on that horse. And again, I am the reason why. Furthering that point I just made, if you have a combination who has done a Nations Cup in the year of a big championship, and then went on that same week to jump the Grand Prix and jump clear, that person should have like a carryover, increased, exposure, because that person has shown they can not only jump successfully in a Nations Cup, then have a one-day turnaround and jump clear in a Grand Prix. The first goal at a championship is to jump double clear for the team. That is the first goal. Any major championship, double clear for the team. After that, you need to show that you could then jump well in the individual, because that individual medal does matter as well. And we should select people who can show that they have jumped well in the Nations Cup and well in the individual in the same week. And not 12 years ago, but recently. Because if I'm showing this year, I'm not showing the horse I showed 12 years ago. I'm showing the horse I'm on today. And just because I did it 12 years ago doesn't mean I can do it today. So I need to show it again. Similar to picking all the horses on the short list from the horse list, this would help younger professionals to come up. It would help them climb the hill. And I don't want you to think, because I want to make it easier to climb the hill, I'm trying to, dummy it down and make it too easy. No, you need to show you jump clear. But it can't be that the people at the top of the hill can just coast along and do whatever they want, and then they get selected for the team, as long as their rider rank is high enough. That is inappropriate. They need to be able to show that they compete just like the others. It brings the subjectivity and the objectivity closer together. I know that it's always great to go with experience. I get it. I totally get it. But to my knowledge at the games, there were 3 riders that were brought in as alternates at the last minute. Those 3 riders one had a rail and clear, the other 2 were double clear in the team, and were the reason that the teams they competed for were higher ranked. These alternates can jump. If we only ever go for experience, then only the experienced people get experience and no one else does. So it starts a negative feedback loop. New people do need to get experience, but they need to show that they're worthy. And the established, experienced people need to not have a golden carpet where they can just sit back and coast and make the team. I say this, and I want this, because one of the big problems in the U.S. is we are losing owners. We export more owners than any country. The reason why is our processes are so nebulous, so hard for people to understand, that if you're a younger rider, less proven rider, and you're talking to an owner, and you're trying to convince them that you're the right person, the owner's going to say, well, I want to go to the teams. And the rider's going to say, well, see, the way we get selected is, I need to have 5 horses to be on the rider list. And then we enter a process in the selection with no objectivity, pure subjectivity, and they're going to go with experience, which is not me, but if I have enough experience, then they might choose me, and it's so unclear. No owner is going to sponsor a young American rider with that much lack of clarity. We would keep owners if they knew the game they were playing. We would give riders the ability to communicate with owners of how the sport works. Because it's kept behind closed doors, because the objective measures are proprietary information we're not allowed to know, that holds the next generation back. And I know we want to make it easier for the established riders. I get it. But if they are that good, they should still come out on top against the younger generation. Monopoly doesn't make people better. It makes them worse. If they are still the best, they will still come out on top if they have to compete. And subjectivity is important, but it shouldn't be the only thing you pay attention to. It should only help a certain number of percentage points, not 100%. Because if it helps 100%, then don't even say there's any objectivity. There is none. You're just going on your own, deciding on your own, making up whatever rules you want. There needs to be some established objective measures and some understanding of the subjectivity, and there needs to be a floor of performance. No pair should be able to go to a major championship without competing in a Nations Cup and without establishing a team record. A pair, horse rider pair, needs to have their own team record, not what they did on other horses. The pair.